feel free to have it here. On item B, number 2, amend VP Finance to read any member of council and will be responsible to read amend shall be responsible to read may exercise the privilege of determining and so on. And on number 3 under section B, it would amend the VP Finance and Resources and the President to be any member of council.
The majority vote of council.
No, to the majority vote of council. Okay, Jordan.
Object. I think from the consensus that we've heard from members, granted not everybody has spoken, but from what I've heard from everybody that has spoken, nobody has made the amendments, nobody wants to talk about this right now because they don't agree with the fundamental basis of the model. The reason I'm
please discuss the amendment as an idea. It's already been proposed. That's fine.
The reason I'm bringing it up is because I don't think we should get into amendments because we don't agree with this fundamentally. So I used amendment like 3 times now.
It would be a different amendment after it's changed.
Okay, the motion's already been proposed, so we need to discuss its merits and not whether or not to discuss it.
Can I continue talking?
Go ahead.
Thanks. Personally, I don't really understand how any member of council can determine fair market rate. And I would ask that we fail this amendment and then fail the entire thing and send it to committee.
Thank you. Peter?
Sure. In terms of changing up who decides, like, who gets funding, honestly, it's supposed to be, like, the whole point of this system is to have...
Can the presenter of the legislation speak on it? Because I clearly don't understand.
I just want to have this in here because if we do vote to, I just want to make sure that that's in there in case we do vote to approve the legislation. I mean, that's all. I'm just all.
Okay, so
I mean, it has nothing to do with my position on whether or not this is a good idea. I just want it to be in there because I really don't think that one member of council should be responsible for this. That really scares me. But Peter is going to speak on why this is illegal. Oh, okay.
Go ahead, Peter.
Sure. So, like I said, when you're moving to a government speech model, this is like the idea of advertising is supposed to be an administrative task. And honestly, when I was writing this, I thought about just giving it to our AS executive assistant. Because really, it's supposed to be one criteria that's going to govern whether or not you advertise in something. And that is the idea that that media, that outlet, is going to be an effective way of communicating your message. It's not supposed to be something subject to political vote. If you put it to a political vote, you're essentially, you're inserting the tyranny of the majority, the political process, into determining where you do and don't advertise in. The only thing that should determine where you do and don't advertise in is the simple idea that that media forum is an effective way of communicating your message. That's it. So it's an administrative task. Give it to anyone. If you want to give it to the entire members of council, I honestly think that you're setting yourself up to, potentially get overturned in the courts. I would say give it to AS executive assistant. Give it to we have a PR position, right? Give it to the PR position. Give it to anyone. It doesn't matter. Just if you put it to a political vote, though, you're seriously degrading what this is supposed to be. It's supposed to be an administrative task. It just happens. That's all I'm saying. In addition to this, though, just to go over a few more things, though, because somebody was saying objecting to even considering this, because it didn't go through committee. The committee didn't look at a single rule change. They didn't pop open the standing rules once.
Jermaine?
No, you were objecting that we shouldn't consider this because the committee did not look at it. And I'm saying the committee didn't look at a damn thing.
Point of information, the committee said that y'all said you shouldn't even present any legislation in the first place.
Right, but you're saying, how dare I go around the committee?
Yeah, exactly.
I still have the floor. I still have the floor, thank you very much. The committee didn't look at anything. It didn't pop open a single time the Senate rules to go, where can we make changes? How can we make changes? I mean, obviously, that was essentially because the committee did not want to recommend anything. They enjoyed the status quo. It's completely understandable based on the makeup. I don't blame them in any way, shape, or form for that. As a matter of fact, if you ask Heather, you'll know that I'm the one who put on the order of business the fact that should there be a recommendation, it can show up on the order of business. There was none, that's fine. But that doesn't mean that myself as a council member can't recommend something that I feel like a lot of constituents really support. I mean, really, you're trying to argue about whether or not we should be considering this, just to ignore the merits of it. I mean, if you want to talk about where the authority should lie in this, let's talk about where the authority should lie. If you want to talk about, the ability of discretion to corrupt this model, let's talk about that. Let's not be talking about the committee didn't look at it, the committee didn't look at any rule changes. Let's just examine the merits of this and get over this issue of it's a shady thing, that it went backdoor to the new business. I mean, let's just get to it. Let's just examine the merits of this document. And I don't think I can friendly amendment, but I'm saying, consider the fact you can't put up advertising to a political vote, because then you're just putting it into funding. If it goes to a political vote, it's really a funding model. If you just give it an administrative, give some sort of institute on AS, like maybe ABQ Communications, the task of advertising to the Associated Students, it just becomes an administrative task that is not up to a political vote and therefore not unconstitutional.
Chris Green.
All right, so chairman, Victor Lonavit, neutral, check. It's true, we did not look at it at this document and this document. We talked about a lot of ideas, and this overall idea, which is one of the recommendations we gave you, government speech, opt out, and the third model. This idea was brought up in a speech, and we talked about it. That's the overall idea of it, correct? And we talked about it, and it got to the point that they didn't want to talk about it anymore. And it was like, let's not tell us anymore because we don't want this anymore.
Jermaine, amendment.
Because this is
So please keep discussions the amendment. Yeah.
And so this amendment being said that this never talked about in committee, and we talked about the idea of this amendment, but this language was never handled. The idea of this amendment was not recommended by the committee.
I think that change the rules are made to make it slightly less ridiculous, but the item as a whole still, whether you have one person or 2 or 5 or 20 deciding this, you're still putting the power in the hands of people who shouldn't have the power. I mean, it may seem from looking at us tonight that we can't decide on anything, but I've seen us decide on things that are not good decisions admittedly by my standards, but the idea that we can still agree on things and have those things come under fire for being wrong. So putting more fingers or more eyes on it does not necessarily make it better. The item as a whole is flawed. That being said, I wasn't trying to imply that the VP of Finance Resources is trying to backstab anyone. He has the right to submit whatever he wants to do business. I'm just saying that, I don't know what I'm saying. I'll take a moment and risk being called as Jermaine to bring this back, because I know it's going to come up that we should put all this back into the debate and send it back to committee, but to use a very poorly formed nautical metaphor, you don't need to look at the crew list and cargo manifest and declarations to know whether or not the ship should be going east, west, or north. I mean, we're debating these things on broad philosophical merits, and that's what we're going to do. So whether we amend this or not, we know which direction it's
30
going to
seconds.
take. We know which direction it's going to take things. So let's not waste time trying to figure out how we're going to word it. Let's look at what it means and what it's going to do and vote on it based on that. And if that means starting over, let's do so.